Hi. Y'all know what I'm doing. I'm pinning the comments. Give me 1 second. Interracial relationship. I'm doing good, y'all. Let me know where you're checking in from. Watermelon. Y'all be having some long screen names, y'all, okay? Watermelon egg rolls. There we go. Okay. Thank you, sis. All right, I'm pinning this here. Boom. Hey, y'all. Happy Tuesday. My day has been amazing so far. I put on a dress just to come to this live video because it's the only time I get to put on clothes. Hey, Ashley. So, I'll turn my music down because I be in a vibe. I wanted to host a live today about a topic that comes up a lot when it comes to things pertaining to race, interracial relationships, mom blogging. And it's the conversation of interracial relationships and marriages and how do we converse and how do they survive in a racial climate like what we're in right now, especially with what just happened with Ahmaud Arbery. Like, how do we have these conversations? And also talking about, is it possible to be pro-Black in an interracial relationship? And so I wanted to bring on one of my friends. Is it frozen? Am I frozen, y'all? Somebody just said it's frozen. If you can see me, if it's frozen, let me know, okay? But I wanted to bring on one of my friends, Ashley Chea from Watermelon Egg Rolls. I thought that she said it was me. I thought that she would be a really good guest to have on today to talk about this topic. She is in an interracial marriage, and she is very outspoken when it comes to race relations. And so we were having a conversation last week, and I was like, we have to have you on Black Moms Blog. So I'm going to bring Ashley into the chat as I bring her in. If y'all have questions around this topic, use the and put in your question, and we'll answer the questions at the end of the conversation. Hey, Mama.
Hey, how are you?
What's up? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
How you feeling?
I'm good. I think, what was I gonna say? Okay, yeah. I hate how when you use your phone, like the comments are just covering up the other person.
I know. Is there a way, like, if you do live on your computer, is it not like that?
No, because I decided to use the iPad to see. But if you're watching it from your iPad, I think it separates it. But when you're just doing it, it's gonna be like that, I guess.
Oh, and I've been back and forth. I'm like, should I turn the comments off? But then I feel like the commentary is good.
Yeah.
IG is constantly doing.
Maybe we can do. Well, if you take the comments off, then people can't even send like questions or messages. Then, huh?
It completely cuts them off. So kind of shift to the right. There you go. Boom. Over there. and then y'all listen, if you do have a comment to make or a question, just make sure you use that question mark tab below to answer the question or to ask questions, and we'll answer them at the end. And if we can kind of refrain from unnecessary comments, because I would like to see Ashley's beautiful face in this video. So Ashley, thank you for joining us today. As I was giving everybody kind of the background of this conversation, we were talking last week, and as we do sometimes have these conversations come up as it pertains to like interracial relationships and marriage and how they survive in a climate where, we're constantly being in a position to talk about Black versus white or anything. And so just for those that are watching, can you, if you have a question, leave it in the question comment below. I'm not going to answer questions from the comments, okay? But if you can just kind of give a little background on your marriage, how long y'all been married, how long you've known each other, you and your husband.
Okay, so hi everybody, I'm Ashley, if you don't know me yet. And Oh, background. So me and Chea have been together for 12 years. We've been married for 5. I think it'll be 6 years in October, which is weird. Or maybe it'll be 5 years in October. I really don't know. We've been together for 12 years. That's all I know.
Right.
And what else did you ask me? I'm sorry.
I was just asking about, how long y'all been together? How did you meet?
Yeah.
And I guess in clarity, what is your husband's actual racial background? Is he white? Is he, No,
so his mother is white and his father is Cambodian. But he was raised I hate saying that. He lived with his dad primarily. So I feel like, but it's weird. His dad is an immigrant from Cambodia. And he came over during the Vietnam War. He was a mechanic in the Air Force. And he married someone who was white. But Chea grew up in Lancaster, Ohio, which is a completely white town. But he was raised by his Cambodian Buddhist father. So I think he kind of went through, when we first met, I asked him, like, how do you identify? And he was like, white. And I think I laughed for like 10 minutes. I was like, boy, don't nobody think you white.
How old were you when you asked him this question?
I was 21.
This is the thing. This is why I really wanted to bring you on this live, because, I feel like people, they take these internet personas that we've built, and it's not to say that these personas are not who we are, but they just don't know. And one thing
I've been woke.
Right. That's what I was about to say. Like, I remember when we first met, I think at this point it was 4 years ago when we did the event out there in California. Oh, yeah. You remember? And I just fell in love with your energy. And you have a very strong energy. And people that may not have such a strong energy in themselves can be intimidated by that.
Yeah, I could be a bit much at times, I know.
You're okay, though. It's refreshing. It's real. It's needed, So I felt like when it came to talking about an interracial relationship, I perceive you to be a very pro-Black woke woman. Now, other people, as I asked that question, you saw some of the comments. People were saying, like, no, you can't be pro-Black and reproduce with somebody outside of your race. You can't be pro-Black. That's like eating pork and being a vegan. What do you feel about that in that topic? Like, can you be pro-Black and still be with someone who's not Black?
So first, I hate the word woke. I really like to believe it's called being conscious, because that woke is a new word. It's kind of like hipster. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Okay. But I was raised conscious. Just like a super brief background. My mom and all her friends, they lived like in the inner city. I grew up in the hood, and they created what was called like the African community. So they had an all-Black bookstore, candy store. There was like a whole street that they created these all-Black businesses. And Kwanzaa was a big deal in my community. Like, they had it at the school. They even had a school called the Afrocentric School, and they would have Kwanzaa there every year. And every day of Kwanzaa, every 7 days, there was a huge event. So I grew up in a community that really embraced being African American. My mom was making me memorize Marcus Garvey speeches by the time I was 5. My mom homeschooled me, and she raised me with a group of her friends, and they all had very similar values, which were just to really embrace being Black and what that meant. So even for me, before I dated outside my race, when I would meet other Black dudes and they weren't conscious, I would be like, oh, no, got to go. Like, I remember, I will never forget, I was in college, and he was a super nice dude. But I've only had one boyfriend other than my husband. But like, when I was in college, there was a couple guys that liked me, went to walk in the park with me or whatever. They realized I wasn't giving it up.
They wanted to hold your hand.
Yeah, they realized I wasn't going to give it up. They moved on to the next girl. But I remember one of them, he was super nice, but I was telling him, like, yeah, I was raised Muslim, and like just talking to him, like, who's your favorite music artist and all this stuff. And he was just looking at me like I was a zombie, like, what's Muslim? He's like, oh no, I'm Christian. And like, just his level of consciousness, to an awareness of other culture within the Black culture, and just other ways of living and mindset. But like, I'm trying to talk to him about, like, who are your favorite leaders, and like, what have you read? And I read the autobiography of Asada Shakur when I was 16.
Yo, like, if y'all haven't read that book, pick it up.
It is an amazing book.
It is amazing.
I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. Like, my mom was not playing. So for me, I was like, oh, I can't date you, because she was dumb. You was really dumb, for real. And so I already knew that we have subcultures within our Black community. And a lot of people don't understand it. They think we're like a monolith. Even some Black people think that. They just really in their own bubble, like all Black people are the same. And I'm like, we're really not. So for me, even with being with Chea, it's more about being connected through someone's soul and like what their intentions are and what they know and what they're informed about and what they're willing to learn. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't even think I answered your question because I
No,
know
but
you did not ask
did.
me that.
You answered it very well, because as someone, I consider myself, in the humblest way, I consider myself to be a very cultured woman.
You are.
I travel, you know, I've dated outside of my race, and I assume myself to be a very pro-Black woman. But I always say there's a difference between being pro-Black and being American pro-Black. I've met, and I live in Atlanta. You can't be pro-Black and you've never stepped outside of your Blackness. You can't be pro-Black and you've never studied or understood people from different cultures, because what, you know, it's like you have to form a basis around where that stands. And being pro-Black doesn't mean just rooting for Black people. Like you said, are you cultured? Who are your favorite activists? Have you read these books? What are you doing within your community to further the conversation about being pro-Black? So I love that you touched on that. And when I meet Black people that claim they're so pro-Black, and you're like, well, have you ever talked to, you know, someone from I don't know, anywhere, and talked about the struggle? Have you ever talked to, you know, a Jewish person?
Or
about,
for
you know?
me though, I feel slightly different about it too though. I do feel like for me, being pro-Black means you are pro-Blackness. You know what I mean? So you are against anything that is harming our community. And that does not require you to be Black. Do you know what I mean? Like I can be pro-Asian if I want to be. Do you know what I mean? Like it's about being the advancement for said culture. So that's how I was raised anyways, with very pro-Black people whose my parents and just all of my friends' parents grew up in the 70s. If they weren't in Black Panther parties, and that's who they hung around. So that mindset of really loving who you are, really promoting your community, supporting the Black dollar first, supporting Black small businesses first. And that was something that was really important for me with my husband, because when he said that to me, I made him go on a soul search. I said, Chea, do you think you're white? And he was like, well, no, I just grew up around all white people. We were the only Asian family, other than, you know.
Your husband doesn't look like a white man.
Girl, he was in denial.
He don't look like a white man.
He was Confucian. I got him all the way together.
He was Confucian.
I was like, I'm gonna need you to look inside. No one, but he was very aware of that. He was just like, but I'm just aware that white people like me, and I can get along with them, and they don't really question me. What I call it is that he is a appealing mixed person, like where there's mixed people that make white people comfortable. Like they don't really know what you are, but you don't have a threat.
You don't look intimidating. Yeah,
no, he's a friendly white. So
he's a friendly white person.
So he knows that. He's aware of his privilege, and we've talked about that. But now if you ask him, he definitely would say he identifies as an Asian man. But I think when I met him, I'm a year older than him. He was only 20 years old. No one had ever asked him that question. He went to an all-white school. The first time he met Black people was in college. But Chea is a learner and a reader, and he's very much insightful. So he's the type of person, he will never shy away from the truth. He's very logical. So for him, it's like, what is fact and what makes sense? And okay, then he's not holding on to any type of belief. He's holding on to the truth. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's what attracted me to him. But as far as being pro-Black, I told Chea too, I said, it's very important for you to be in touch with your culture and your community, and you to be an activist for Asian Americans, and for that to be something that's important to you, because your dad is an immigrant and he's experiencing this world different than you, because his dad he speaks English well, but he still has a very strong accent where some people would have difficulty understanding some of the stuff he's saying. So for me, it's like, you are living in this world differently than me, your children, and you have to be aware of that, and you have to be conscious of that, and you need to advocate for the people that you say you love, because we're not living the world the way you are.
You literally, I love talking to you because you always make me think, right? And as you're talking, I'm also reading the comments that people are saying, and I've seen a few comments that really stood out to me. Firstly, I just want to say, when it comes to Black women, us as a whole, Black women and Black men, there's more than just Black and white. Right? A lot of people, when they hear dating outside of the race, they automatically think of a white man or a white woman. And there are so many races and cultures out there, y'all. Just please, I just encourage you to try and look it up. But also, just Google. On top of that, someone said that you said on Black Love, like, when you met your husband, he didn't look the way that you thought that he would look. And so you kind of struggled, but you couldn't deny how much he loved you and about that soul connection. And then and I'm tying all of this together, so just give me a second. Somebody also left a comment that said, it's already a disconnect between Black men and Black women, so dating outside of out of our race won't fix it. Now,
that's fair.
There are a few things about that, because as a Black woman, I feel like the weight to fix our culture is always placed on our shoulders. And when does it become a thing of, I'm not trying to fix our culture, but I deserve to be happy? Going back to your point on Black love, and my happiness, while I wanted to place that in the arms of a Black man, it just didn't work out that way for me. And I fell in love with this other person. So for you, how did you kind of journey in your mind through that process of meeting your husband, realizing that I've fallen in love with this wonderful man who doesn't look the way that I expected him to look, and meaning that I am going to reproduce children that, don't look like me, which is bullcrap because your kids look just like both of y'all. But how did you
like my mom? Like my mom.
They do look like your mama. Oh my God, they look just like your mother. But you look just like your mother, but they look like your mom, right? And they look like their dad, like they have his eyes. Like, I mean, it's just so many things. But how did you journey through this process of, just meeting this person you love, and it kind of challenging, even at your age of 21, challenging everything that you thought being pro-Black was? Because I'm sure over the years that's changed for you, being in an interracial relationship.
No, for sure. I mean, I definitely was a Black person who, listen, to keep it a buck with you, I still have to check myself sometimes when I see other interracial relationships, and then my friends will be like, "Girl, your husband is not
Black either."
I'll be like, I'm like, why he didn't want a Black girl? She'd be like, hello, friend. But it is, the thing is, it's an unlearning process. I grew up in a beautiful community that was very much pro-Black, but there were parts that were like, they weren't into white people. Okay. Yeah. So it's not and it wasn't a negative thing, because honestly, like, you got to start from there sometimes, given our cultural history, and then move out of that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, like, you have to eliminate all distractions within the Black community, focus, build up that self-esteem, that self-love, that self-appreciation, and then slowly integrate with other people, because integration is one of the things that ruin the Black community. So I had to unlearn what it meant to love myself, what it meant to love my people, and also the difference between procreating, being in love, being married. Girl, we could have 3 different lives. Those are all very, those are my beliefs. Those are all very different things. And so when I really started liking Chea, I had to talk to my mom about it. My mom, I love her because she is not even really Black, but she identifies as a Black woman, and that's fine. That's her journey. That's her story.
What is your mother's ethnicity?
She's very multiracial. She's white and Native American and Spanish and Jewish and Black-ish. So she's just ishy. But she identifies, she's a multicultural woman who identifies as Black, which a lot of Black people do. I mean, she came from a time where you was either Black or white. Didn't nobody want to hear about none of those other things.
Your mother always looks Native American to me versus else.
Well, but a lot of people think when she used to have really long hair, a lot of people thought that she was East Indian. She would get that all the time.
I can do that too, yeah.
So yeah, but she will tell you she's Black, and that's what she identifies with, and that's fine. I don't care. But my point is that even so, I think she still had this heightened awareness that, like, I'm not about to make my child feel like she can only date Black people. So she never ever said that, but we just loved being Black, and we loved our Blackness. But my mom was never once said to me, you can't bring home someone that's not Black. That was never a conversation she ever said. She didn't even talk to us about that. She just really wanted us to love ourselves as Black people. But I would say that for me and Chea, I really just had to understand what relationships meant, what love meant, and what a partner meant. I think, unfortunately, for Black people, everything is surrounded around our Blackness, and we don't even everything. So we don't even get a chance to think outside of our Blackness. Like, let me just think as a human being about love, about marriage. It's all centered and rooted in being Black. Yes. And so a lot of times people partner because of proximity in Blackness, but white people do that too. Do you know what I mean? They do, a lot of people, it's the same thing, like there's no such thing as black on black crime. You do things within the proximity of
your location,
your environment. Yeah.
Your environment, yeah.
So I just knew that Chea, he's just different, man. Like he just spoke to my soul. Like that is my best friend. I really love him. From the moment we spoke to one another, just something just happened. I don't know. It really was like a movie. Like he just.
And you can't deny that love.
No.
You genuinely can't.
I tried, bro. I tried to hook him up with all my friends. Really, I'm serious. About 5 of them. I was like, why don't you go with her? Why don't you try to date? He was like, they were all like, no. He was like, no. But I was
But
scared
it's a portion of cognitive dissonance. And for anybody that's watching that doesn't understand what cognitive dissonance is, it's such a widely used term that people really don't understand. Cognitive dissonance, and if I'm, you chime in here and let me know your thoughts on this as well. When you have such a firm belief in your spirit of something being what it is, and you're challenged in that thought. So I'll take you for an example of being pro-black, growing up, thinking that your love was going to look this way. All these things were going to look this way. You could have met your husband and your cognitive dissonance would have said, I love this person. This isn't what it looks like, but I'm going to stick to what I know. That's cognitive dissonance, right?
Right.
But you chose to step outside of that. And stepping outside of that, you've built a life with this person, and you've had these beautiful children, and you've learned so much. Now, with that, I'm sure over the last 12 years of knowing each other, there have been times in your relationship where you've had conversations when the Michael Brown was killed, or Trayvon Martin, or, Ahmaud Arbery, which is what led us to this conversation in the first place. How do you navigate race relation conversations in your relationship without allowing it to impede on the love that you have for each other and staying open-minded to the conversation?
So, sorry, I'm just trying to move these long legs of mine, child.
That's all.
I'm almost 5'8". We've been through this, girl. I'm not gonna go there with you. I'm tall.
I'm taller than you.
That doesn't mean that does not negate the fact that I'm tall. You were just taller.
Whatever.
No. So what was I gonna say? Okay. So that's
really long-winded questions. Okay?
No, it's not. It's a 2-part question. Number one, I would say that the number one problem. I'm not a relationship expert, but I am an expert at all things because I'm a Capricorn. So there you go. The number one issue with most relationships is people don't go into them honestly. And so for me, I feel like looking at, my family history, my friends, and everybody, communication is a huge issue within most humans. So even entering a relationship, regardless of the issue, most people don't enter in their most authentic way. But because I am a Capricorn, I don't know how to exist on this planet any other way than authentically. And like you said earlier, it can be a bit much at times. I'm fully aware of that. I'm like reeling it in as I'm getting older. It was a lot worse when I was younger. But being with me, being my friend, being in a relationship of any magnitude of mine, you will know that straight up, I am just going to always keep it 100. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me and Chea, which is why I really value my friendships and relationships.
And what's his sign, by the way?
He's a Libra, they're very
lovely.
I know.
Libra, they're my favorite Libras. They're so awesome.
They are.
If
they
y'all don't
like
have
the
any Libras in your life, go find one.
Friend, I try to tell you, all my friends that have bomb husbands, their husbands are Libras. Like
Libras are awesome. They really are. They're sweet, genuine, just.
But you know why I like
everything.
What I like Chea, I like Libras anyways, is because they're based off of facts. And so that allows them to grow as humans, because it's like if you present them with something different and it's true, they're not going to shy away from it because they just want to live in truth anyways. Mm-hmm. But with me and him, when I was just his friend, like if you've been a friend of mine and you come to my house, we talk about race all the time. Mm-hmm. I remember I had a friend who I'm no longer friends with, but she just wasn't comfortable with it. And she used to say to me, she was like,
was she white or black?
White. But she would tell me, like, why do you guys always have to talk about race? And does everything have to be about race? And I'm like, girl, you can't be friends with all of us because we are very black and we are going to talk about it. And if it makes you uncomfortable, you guys to go.
Yeah.
But Chea knew that coming into our relationship because I was my most authentic self. So I think being friends with anyone, no matter if you're different races or not before you're in a relationship helps, because you meet each other in your most authentic self, because you're not trying to be with each other, you're just friends.
Right.
It's really hard to front after that. After
Yeah.
somebody done seen you throw up and all that other stuff. Like, I know who you are. I know how you get down. Do you know what I mean? So I think that really did help me and Chea, because we were friends first. I knew him for about 4 years before we ever dated. And he knew how I spoke about race. He understood how important it was. And even when we became romantic, I looked at him and I was like, listen, I have to be my most authentic self. So if I can't come home from work, because I worked at a call center at the time, and be like, I hate white people, and you understand that I'm not talking about all white people of the world, that I'm specifically talking about racist white people that I have to work with.
Right. I shouldn't have to explain and break that down to you. You should know what I mean there.
If you can't understand that, then we can't be together. And he understood that. Like, I don't know, I watched Black as F on Netflix, and he said that he got in a car with his wife, and he was like, I hate white people. And like, it was such a real moment, because almost every Black person has had that experience, or you've come home to your Black family and said that, I need to be myself at home. I need to feel like I can confide in you and talk to you. My husband has to be my best friend. Like, yes, I have other friends and I value those relationships, but your partner should be someone that you should be able to speak about everything with.
And I just want to cut in and say something for any white person that's watching this that, you know, falls behind this belief that Black people are racist. Black people
we can't be, because
we can't be racist. And not to mention, I read a comment the other day, and it just really summed up where it summed it up perfectly. And the comment said, Black people, as a form of protection, have built up a level of immunity towards white bullshit. They just have. With our history and the things that we've gone through, if there's a disaccord between Black and white that stems from a Black person not liking a white person, it is in response to an original action caused by a white person or the white race or slavery or whatever else. And that original cause had no purpose. And so it's not the same. And so even going back to your conversation of sitting down with your husband, he has any relationship partner, they have to understand that this anger that you may feel when you get off work from your car, you felt back then when you got off work and expressed, it wasn't based off of you just originally saying, I hate white people, or I'm mad at this. It's a response to a condition that Black people have been forced into for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
But listen, it's Black people that don't even understand that concept. I've had Black friends say to me, I just don't think all white people are bad and racism doesn't exist. Well, we're not friends anymore. But I mean, just like that level of wanting to belong and wanting to fit in, like I like sometimes I have conversations with people where I understand where we are and I know that where we can't go. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, you still on chapter 1 and I'm on chapter 20. Now,
let me meet you where you at.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna go back there. But if you get to chapter 20, because I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to engage, because I already know that we have two completely different understandings of what's happening. And it's not a knock towards them, because that's the thing. Like, I have so many Black friends. We're not the same, and we were not raised the same. And our exposure and understanding of the Black experience, as Black people, we will all experience the world the same, in a sense of having microaggressions or some direct racism, but we're not all raised the same. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And even when, that's the thing that I wanted to talk about too. With me and Chea, we were raised the same. We were actually both raised by single parents who, his dad is very proud of being Cambodian. He's very much in his Buddhist temple, into his Buddhist community, and education was super important to him. So we were raised with the same exact values. Do you know what I mean? The way we value our parents, family, all of that is the same. And that's why we connected. So we still do have issues at times when it comes to race, because even with what recently happened, when I get upset, I feel like I'm more upset about stuff than he is, and it triggers me more, and I cry more, and it affects me more. And I understand it's like,
because you put it in the place of your Black brother, your Black cousin, your Black,
and he's hearing about it like a stranger was like, oh, my cousin died, and you're like, oh, that's sad. It's always sad when someone dies, but it doesn't affect
it doesn't hit you the same way. But there was an article talking about that when it came to judges, and they were talking about the disproportion that judges tend to sentence Black men towards any other race. Sorry, white men are sentenced less. And so when a white judge is sitting there and he looks down and there's a white man in front of him, he looks at that white man and he says, that's my brother, that's my cousin, that's my uncle, that's my father. And there's an immediate level of sympathy that goes out to him. Whereas if a Black man or a Mexican, Hispanic, whatever is in front of him, he's not going to have that same level of sympathy. And so he's going to proceed with his judgment in a different, harsher way. And we all do it too, right?
But I feel like it's easier for Black people to be empathetic of all races.
But that's what I was about.
White people, yes.
Yeah. But that's also the difference between racism and prejudice, okay? So that judge is in a position of power. Right. And so because he's in that position of power, he can evoke his racism. If I say that I don't like a white person, I don't have any power to do anything when it comes to that. Like, it's just, it doesn't exist for me. But back to what you said, you're right. Like, there is, Black people are more sympathetic to other races because we've been in a position as a quote unquote minority when it comes to political power and all these different things for so many years. So we have a built-in empathy in general because we are built up differently too. And that's a whole different conversation.
But that can be hard within your relationship. But that's something that me and you have battle with, because I am just an empath in general. Like, everyone that's Black is not an empath, but I just am. Like, I cry over dog. I don't even like dogs. But if I see I'm donating money to dog foundations, I would never own a dog in my life, but I am just like that. Anything that's bad or sad or crime against any type of human being, I'm like, okay, I'm sad and I'm donating money and I'm trying to fight for it. That's just me. Like, Chia, like, you don't even, what are you talking about? You want to adopt a dog? You know, I'm like, I know. It's just like the commercials get me every time. But he's not like that. He is very logical in general, whether he was Black, white, whatever. That is just the soul of that man. He is not an emotional being. So it's really, I have to learn to compartmentalize who he is as a man and who he is as a non-Black man. Do you see what I'm saying? And not be so triggered by the way he's responding to things as him being anti-Black or him not being empathetic to the Black plight, and realizing that, and that's the thing that you have to do when you're in an interracial relationship. I think it's easier if both of you are Black to dissect your partner as a person. Like, this is my Black husband and my husband is just insensitive or blah, 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 right? I have to always check myself and be like, is he being, you know, is this, he doesn't care about Black people, or is he just insensitive? Or do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's work on my part though. Like, I have to do that work, not him. He has the luxury of just looking at me as Ashley, you know, like, oh, this is just my wife and how she is, has nothing to do with her being Black, X, Y, and Z. But I'm instantly triggered if he doesn't respond the same way to Black crimes that I do. As like, I'm looking at him like a white person then, like, not even an Asian person.
How don't you understand? How don't you get where this is coming from?
And that's a conversation that we have.
So how do you bring yourself back down from that? Because at the end of the day, this is your husband, right?
I know.
And you can go through these emotions, but you know that this, you know, hopefully isn't something, and I know that it's not, but it's not something that can affect your marriage. So how do you bring it back?
Oh, it can.
Well, yeah, of course. But I'm saying, I hope that, you know, and it never does in the way that, you know, that's the point. But how do you bring yourself back down, you know, to that understanding when it comes to your partner?
This is actually really funny. I have a best friend named Jerome, whom I talk to a lot, and he's like, he really is my best friend. You know what I mean? So he's like my other husband that I don't want to marry. You know what I mean? But like, he's such a good filter to go through, because he has such regard for my marriage and such respect for it, that he's always going to be honest with me and work with me through my feelings and stuff. So I will talk to him about, I know what I need to talk to Chia about, what I don't. I think that if I need to have a real Black moment and cry and be frustrated about what's happening in this world to Black people, I'm just going to talk to my friends Dro or Nalo or really understand my soul as a Black person. And with Chia, I just stopped having those types of conversations with him, not because he doesn't understand, he does, but it's still not the same.
You can only understand from his perspective too. And
I don't want to talk to him
like
about it.
All I heard when you were saying that is, and it's such a lesson I talk about in relationships,
yes,
friendships. If you love somebody, you got to love that person fully and wholly. They're not going to change. And you have to decide, can I deal with this person as they are? I'm not going to change him or her or whomever, my child, like, you're not going to be able to change them. And
Right.
so I think that's a lot. And also understanding that your partner isn't going to be everything for you. You got to have outside friendships. They don't have to be. That's a lot of pressure to feel like you got to be everything for everybody. And so especially in a relationship where there is a racial difference, you can love your husband and you can do these things, you can be together, but it's important to have this other source of acknowledgement for your Blackness sometimes, especially because you're not always going to get it. And I think that's something that, you know,
that someone just said that too, like about being a Black man and walking through life differently than a Black woman. And not even just that, just men in general walking through life differently than women. One of my favorite people to talk to about marriage is my friend Abby. She and I are very similar. She's actually in an interracial relationship too. And she's white and her husband is African. And he's one of my best friends. I love him. He's like a brother to me. And me and her are more similar than me and him are. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's the point. Like, just because we're both Black doesn't mean we're going to be the same person. Like, now me and him have a lot of the same life experiences because we're both Black, and we can laugh and joke about stuff that's happened in our childhood that are just cultural things, right? But the soul of who I am aligns more with her soul because we just experience life on the same spiritual and emotional plane. And like, I don't even have to say sentences to her. Like, we just look at each other and it's like,
yes. But you said something earlier that was so deep, and I've said it. Black bodies will always be policed. The Black mindset will always be policed. We're never in a state to just be. You're never in a state to be spiritual. If you're spiritual, you're going against your Black mama and your religion. You're never in a space to just be silly. You're never in a space to dress however you want without being called names. And so even as a Black woman, like you said, like, I connect on my soul basis with this other person because this is where we are. And, you know, as a Black person, we're policed by everybody, even each other.
Yes,
most ever just be like, that's a privilege that other, you know, some other races may not even fully understand. That is a privilege, just to breathe, just to wake up and say, I want to date this person without somebody coming at you and being like, why are you dating outside of your race? Are you saying you hate Black men? It's like, no, I fell in love with this man.
But girl, you know when people say that to me, I start to have I love a good Black off. That is my favorite thing to do. Don't honey. We could go Black for Black all day. So I'm like, okay, well, you have a problem with me being with this man who's not Black. Talk to me about your Blackness. Like, I want to know, how many Black companies are you supporting? How many Black small businesses? How many people, Black businesses, have you contributed to during coronavirus? How many Black women are you helping? Are you supporting? Are you voting?
Where's your Black wife? Whenever I hear a Black man, and I, you know, whenever I hear Black men go off on Black women for dating outside their race, they don't understand either. And you may not agree with me fully here, but this is a part of where I stand when it comes to Black men dating outside of their race. It's normally put as a rejection of Black women. Well, I like white women because Black women are ... Wrong. You like white women because you like white women. Say that. That's okay. Don't make it an about Black women. When Black women have typically dated outside of their race, in the sense of like, when they're pursuing someone outside of their race, it's normally in response to Black men not being available to date a Black woman.
Well, I mean, it's scientifically impossible for every Black woman to date a Black man anyway. It's just based off statistical. There's more Black women than there are Black men, and you have to do economics, jail, education, availability. We're not all going to marry Black men. It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Some men are gay.
Like, some of them are gay, some of them are in jail, and whatever.
Our options are like,
oh, they are tight and they are small. And the thing that I realized out here in the streets as a single woman, like, you know, even if you meet the man who's the good guy, is he the good guy who's actually showing up to be a husband? Because it's a lot to say, I want to be married versus I'm doing the works to be married. And when you come from a household that's broken, if you come from a single mother household, you may not know how to move in that truth. You may think you are. And as a woman, you have to decipher, is this something I even want to put up with? Do I want to raise this man to be a husband? Do I have the energy and the time? And so it's just, you know, it's all these things. So I love that you said that. And on a deeply spiritual level, I had a friend of mine tell me once about, you know, if
listen, Ronnie, that's fine, but let's be realistic here, okay? Like the little Black girls like me who grew up in the hood, the likelihood of most of them going to Nigeria or Brazil to find a husband is not going to happen. People, like I don't know if you've been on this conversation all the time, but people usually marry in proximity. All of my friends that are married met their boyfriends in college or high school, which is why most of my friends who are single in their 30s are single in their 30s, because it's harder to find a man outside of college and high school or your job. That's what happens.
It's so freaking hard.
Let's be real here, but
so, right?
Globally. Okay, we're gonna go find globalman.com, and then y'all have to figure out what continent you're living on. Like, that's not.
If you're really trying to marry me or get a green card, what you
not
doing
a real
over
conversation
here?
right now.
What are your expectations when it comes to dating me? Am I your mama? No, I'm not.
Right, like, I don't even.
Because I done been to Nigeria. I done been to Ghana. I done been to Morocco. I done been to Egypt. And African men, yo.
I can't speak on that. I have 2 African friends.
It's a different situation.
Well, my African friend is an amazing guy, and he's married. Okay.
But you're right. When it comes to talking about dating in proximity, you know, it does change dramatically once you're taken out of institutions that force you to be in close proximity.
Yeah.
College, high school, like schooling, the school institution as a whole. That's why so many people do get married there, jobs. And it's even harder when you're an entrepreneur and you're set or surrounded by your house, because you don't go outside. And then looking at like this time we're in with coronavirus, we're not going outside. So it's very tight on proximity. What about your children? I can't say has it, because I know that it has. In what ways do you sum up? And you have a book called Beautiful, Beautiful Me. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, you talk about, you know, your children. You can't deny any part of them, because they are they're multiracial. Mm-hmm. And they are encompassed by many different races. So tell me a little bit about how has the conversation come up with your children about their race, about race in general, and how do you and your husband talk to them?
My husband doesn't talk to them about race because it's Chia and he's living in his own world. But I talked to them more about it, and honestly didn't talk to them about it at all when they were younger. When Amira was little, she came to me and she was crying because she wasn't dark. And that's my oldest child, Amira. She's 11 now. And that's why I wrote the children's book, because she was really sad that we weren't the same color, which is a normal child thing. White parents experience that with their white kids if one has blonde hair.
My daughter is black and we're not the same color.
Yeah.
Both her parents black. Me and her daddy are blackity, blackity, black, black, black.
It happens.
And she light.
Yeah. So it happens. So, and that's the thing too, with our genetic makeup with African-American people, like like the Huxtables, all of them were different shades. That's a very real thing that happens in Black families. Everybody has the same complexion. But she wanted to be dark like me. So I tried to look for books that celebrated just children in general, and there weren't any. And that's actually when I had an epiphany too, that the things that I support are always going to usually be in support of Black women, women in general. But if I create something, it has to be inclusive, because now I have to involve my children in the way they're existing in this world. And they're not living in this world as Black women. And people can perceive them as Black, and that's fine. It's not a negative thing, but they're not just Black women. That's not who they are. And so the reason why I really came to that is because people were being like, well, your kids are Black, your kids are Black. And I was thinking about it like, what if Chia just walked around and was like, these are my Asian daughters. Look at my beautiful Asian daughters. And he was hashtagging Asian daughters all the time on Instagram and like, oh, I love my little Asian daughters. That shit would infuriate me. I would be so, because I would be like, these.
Because you're literally denying the existence of
these stretch marks on this Black body, boo, not that Asian body. Like, I'm the one who, so I really had to think about it. Like, I don't want to just call my children Black, because it negates their entire other parent. And I feel like that's disrespectful. And for me, like, I understand there's a difference about raising your children about how they'll be perceived in this world versus who they are. And those are just different things, and we talk about that all the time. So I tell my daughters that, or not even my little ones, but my oldest daughter, like, you know, in this world, I talk to her about her privilege, about understanding how she speaks about Black women, about understanding conversations of hair and anything that she has a cultural privilege of. Do you know what I mean? And how I talk to her about those aren't even real advantages, but that's just something that this world created. So I want her to be aware of that, so she doesn't misspeak or say things that could be perceived as offensive. Yeah. But, I just tell them that they're multicultural, because they literally have all, you know, thank you, all of my parents are, both of all of our parents are living. They have all of their grandparents. They literally have.
Oh, that's a blessing.
6, yeah, because both of my dad and his dad got remarried, and his mom got remarried. So they have a lot of grandparents, and they have a Black granddad and an Asian granddad and a white grandma and a Spanish grandma, and like this in a white grandpa. So I want them to feel loved and embraced by all of those cultures. I send my kids to the temple. We do a lot of Afrocentric things. I don't really, and this is no shade, but I don't know how to teach them about their whiteness. Just let them go spend time with their grandma. But it's not like, she doesn't know her history, like where they're from in Europe. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not like she has some type of like European culture to give them. It's just like they're just white in America. So I think it's important for them to just spend time with those people and get love from them and have their own personal relationships so they can feel love from all sides and they're not picking an identity based on whoever liked them the most.
And I think it's super important too. And I think about this a lot when it comes to, I would say specifically for our brothers that do have children with white women. You have to make sure your partner does understand that your children are multicultural and not just Black or not just white. And I say that in the sense of, if you are a white woman or a white man and you like Black men, but you don't like Black women, you got to be careful of that, because you're going to be raising multicultural daughters and the world will perceive them as Black, regardless of how you feel.
Right.
About them being multicultural, the world will perceive your children as being the color of their skin, because the world can be very ignorant. We all know that. And so it becomes this even deeper conversation to help your children really understand what that means, so that they're already walking out into the world with a tough skin. Because even though we're in 2020, colorism among each other, racism among white people, prejudice against different cultures, it's going to be something that they're going to come into contact with, being multiracial, so I love that you did talk about that. I read a few comments here. I'm so bad with the comments because they be going.
Oh, Jesus, that's too much for my spirit.
It's a lot. I'm going to go through, we got like 10 minutes left. I'm going to go through and answer. I'm going to let you answer some of the questions that you were asked. I want to make a point. Nay Version said there are good African men out there. Yes, sis, of course. Don't take my joking too serious, okay? There's good men everywhere.
You have to always say I'm kidding, because people will.
I'm kidding. I know.
Like, she doesn't like African.
Oh, I'm already prepared for it after this live. Listen, because one thing about Black Mom's blog, we got the pro-Black, we got the anti-white, we got all of them on here, and it's just interesting. It's always fun. It's always fun. I'll just say that.
I wouldn't even have them DMs. I'll be like, that's between you and your God.
Look, that's between you and your God. But I welcome and appreciate all conversation, because I'm like that with you. I feel like as a Black person, it's not my job to educate a white person on how to accept Black people or understand Black people. But having the platform that I do, it is a conversation that I have made. I get asked a lot, why Black Moms blog and not all moms? What, are you a racist and all this? And I simply say to, anybody who has that question, I'm like, hey, turn on your television for 15 minutes, put it on any station and tell me how many Black people you see. And, it's not a lot. You know what I mean? There's a song that Wale just put out called, oh my goodness, Sue Me for Sale. I can't remember. It's Wale's newest song. If y'all haven't heard of it, Google it. But the video is him showing the world from a perspective of a white man, where the system is flipped. There's a Black Jesus on his wall. There's billboards in his neighborhood of Black cops beating white people. There's all these things that are happening, and it breaks down just how our worlds are every day. The image is Sue Me. Somebody, thank you. Sue Me. Thank you. It's Sue Me by Wale. If y'all have not watched this video, I highly encourage you to watch it, and it will put a different spin and perspective on just what we go through on a daily basis. So, Ashley, I want to go through some of these questions. This is my wonderful power round of questions. I'm going to ask you a question, and then I just want you to spit off the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay, go.
So, and these are from our audience that's watching. So somebody asked, so what about Black families, Black men, and Black women creating Black kids? Okay, Ronnie. So you still on this live. I need you to clarify that a little bit, because I don't know what you mean. Ashley, do you know what Ronnie means here?
No. Next question.
All right, swipe Someone asked, Miss Shanae, how does motherhood define you?
I have to get up here and talk.
Okay.
How does motherhood define me? I feel like it just has defined my spiritual growth, and it happens to the best of us. I feel like it defines my spiritual growth. It really just defines who I've become, because I have really focused on becoming the best version of myself so that my daughters can be the best versions of themselves. So it's really so defined my self-awareness, I should say.
I love it. I think in my end of it, it's kind of like that. My self-awareness and defining myself through motherhood is how I define myself as a woman. My womanhood. I think motherhood and womanhood are two separate definitions. And a lot of times as women, we lose ourselves in understanding who we are. And so in order to define yourself as a mother, first you need to define yourself as a woman so that you can learn to separate the two, because it's not the same thing.
Yeah. It's really bothering my OCD. Do we have to keep the question up there? I just can't take it.
Oh, no, it's gone. Okay.
Like, can we just pop it in and leave?
Pop it out. Okay. So I'm going to read it and then I'll take it off. Okay.
Okay. I'm like,
you were such a Capricorn. You really are Capricorn. Listen, anyways, my Capricorn friend, I love you. Ashley, are you fully Black or are you mixed with anything? I removed that question just for you.
I mean, do you need me to break down my geological? My mother is not African American fully, so obviously I'm not either. But what is it? Oh my God. I mean, yes, I'm Black and Native American and Italian and Spanish and white. I don't know I do know the percentages, but is that important? Like, I am 65.5% African American and I'm 20% European. Like, I did get my genealogy test done, but yes, I am mixed with other cultures. But I just identify as mostly Afro-Latina just because that's the predominant percentages of me. But I'm a Black girl from around the way.
And for all those that are wondering about the all types of Blackness out there, I want to Google this because I want to make sure my percentages aren't wrong. But the average African-American person in this country, hold on, let me Google it. Say it again. What is it?
80, but
it's like 75 or 80%,
yes,
right? That's where my brain is going. What is the percentage? I'm going to hurry up because we got like 10 minutes.
Yes, girl, type quicker.
What is the percentage of African-American? I'm wording this wrong, but listen, it's around 75 to 80%. Okay.
Yeah, that's what Dr. Henry Lewis said.
It's 76.5. The average Black person in this country is 76.5% Black, with nearly 25% of their race being attributed to a different culture. And so, funny thing about me, I've done my genealogy. I'm 92.6% African American Black. So I'm Black.
You real Black.
I'm real Black.
So was my dad, though. I got it done for him, and I think that's why my percentage is so high. I don't want to tell my mom's percentages because it really bothers her spirit, but hers are not where they need to be passing.
So her comfort level. She's like, I'm Black, girl, no, I'm Black.
That's where they need to be. But my dad is 90% African, and the rest of that's other 10% is European and Asian.
Yes. And y'all, when I tell you, like I said, I have been through the top portion of Africa. I've been to Egypt, I've been to Morocco, I have been to Ghana, I have been to Nigeria. And
I've ate food, but I mean, go off, sis.
I have not studied you. The funny thing is, as you travel, you realize that when you think about Africa, the largest continent on this planet, regardless of what your school has told you, when you think about Africa, the people there look so different. When you look at West Africans compared to Egyptians look like they're from Afghanistan.
Well, or do people from Afghanistan look like they're from Egypt?
But you know what? You're right. You better wink at me. Okay. You already know. I was in Egypt and I saw this. I'll never forget her face. It was this little girl and she was so beautiful. She had skin like the color of my skin with blonde hair and green eyes. Mm-hmm. I saw another one with red hair. And back then, I didn't even have locks, and they used to be like, Rastafari, Rastafari. And, because I was Black, but Black, the Black of what we consider Black. don't look like this in all parts of Africa.
Zeldin put it on. I was gonna say that next too. She said, but they aren't the original Egyptians. I was gonna say yes, child, because I was gonna
Y'all
say
gotta go ahead and teach a lesson.
Which was Nubia. That's a different conversation now.
y'all better teach the lesson. But this is so important for anybody watching this live and my replay people that watch this. Learn Black culture, and Black culture goes beyond your backyard. It goes beyond your city. It goes beyond your state. It goes beyond this country. Learn Black history. Learn it before you call yourself pro-Black.
Black history is American history, and African history is world history. And that's the thing, like when you allow, and that's why education is so important. Like my mom made me memorize every country in Africa, every capital of those countries.
There's 54.
Their original names, and talk about Pangea and how everything started in Africa. So even when you think of Asian people and their eye shape, that is from Africa. So, you know, I just think that a lot of times people don't realize, unfortunately, that everything started in Africa. And so you can attribute certain looks to evolution, which is true. Like African people migrated to certain areas, and through evolution, your gray hair can change because your body, because God is good, will adapt to your environment, and people begin to look differently. But girl, what's the next question, child?
I know. Look, so I know I'm looking real distracted.
We're talking about a history lesson.
No, look, this is what was happening. So my bookshelf is right here, and I knew that this was going to be the next question I put up on the scene about any book recommendations. And I'm going to let you answer that, but I wanted to grab a few books that I wanted to recommend to people to read as it pertains to our life. And I can't find them. Anyway, so can you answer that question? Do you have any, y'all gonna walk with me for just a second. Do you have any book recommendations that you would recommend to people that they should read as it pertains to
that block off of there, child. You know, it's back again. I can't take it.
What is this book? I'm gonna let you answer that first while I try to find this book.
I would tell everyone to read The Alchemist. I would say to read the autobiography of Assata Shakur. I would say to read any book by Malcolm Gladwell. All his books are amazing.
Yes. Oh my God.
I would tell people to read the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah.
Yes.
Those are some good books to start with. That'll keep you busy for the next year or so.
Okay. So I have my books for y'all. Okay. I have 3 that I want to show you. And I have like a whole minute. I'm so sorry. I hate that this live is going to end soon. Okay. So really quick.
You can restart it if you want to. It's up to you.
Girl, no, I got things to do today. I love you, but I gotta go. I got an hour.
Busy.
I got an hour and I got to go. So here's a book. I got this book in Ghana. It's called Elmina. It's the castles in the slave trade. It talks about the Elmina was the first slave castle that when people were taken from Africa and brought to America, they went through this castle. I got to go there when I was in Ghana, and it was heartbreaking. But it's a really, really good book. You guys should check this out. I will also suggest reading Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. This book is extremely painful to get through, but I made it. But it talks about the origin of mankind. I think it's a really great book. And then this one is called How We Get Free Black Feminism in the Combahee River Collective. This is a really, really good book. I got this from Spelman College Library. I know that was fast, but we got to keep going. So if you want to check those out, make sure you rewatch this live. So let's go through like 1 or 2 more questions before we get off. Somebody asked, do you ever fear that black in your future lineage will die out? I'm in interracial marriage, pregnant with my first. That's a really good question.
No, I don't worry about that because I don't care. I mean, I feel like my children are going to marry whoever they want to marry. They could be gay. They could not be gay. They could not want to be married. They could not want to have children in the first place. So I can't worry about that. I'm just going to love them and send them into the universe, and I'm going to die one day. So
yeah, I think that is a really important question that a lot of people, when they do stumble upon this, can you be pro-black and still date outside of your race? It's about the lineage. Like, if you're pro-black, are you milking, are you tainting your lineage? What if they all die out? What's going to happen? But what people don't understand, if you have children, your children, procreate with somebody of a different race, all it takes is one black person down the line to bring all that blackness back out. That one drop is a real thing. But it doesn't go away.
Queen of Fu has said it best. Your children do not belong to you. You are literally a vessel that they didn't even come from you. They came through you. So
yes,
you shouldn't be focused. If you have kids and that's what you're focused on, you're focused on the wrong thing.
right.
You need to be focused on loving your babies, creating positive, loving energy so that they can exist in this world in a beautiful way and have beautiful experiences with the people that they choose to live their life with. But that needs to be your focus. You should not be worried about whether your great-great-grandchild is going to be Black, because you won't even be alive, so it won't even matter.
Yeah. We're going to ask them this one last question, then we're going to hop off. It says, how can I explain cultural appropriation versus cultural appreciation to my white husband?
Oh, girl.
Ain't that a long one? We'll
just answer it in your page. That's too much.
It really is a lot. And this is why I urge y'all to do some research of your own. I love the internet, but we like it easy. We like to be able to come on these lives and ask all the hard questions. And some of these things could be researched and tailored to your own life. And it's going to bring you so much more power when you find the answer yourself. I have this thing with my 7-year-old daughter, and I also use the same knowledge with my 55-year-old mother. I do not answer easy questions that you can find on your own. So I need you to find them. I don't care how old you are, and all of us are grown. So Ashley, sis, appreciate you fully. I so love this live with you. Y'all, if y'all missed anything, it'll be up for 24 hours. I also record our lives and put them on our YouTube channel. So
okay.
I just started doing that. I missed like some really great lives back in the day, and I was like, damn, I wish I would have recorded that.
That's smart. I'm glad you did. I'll share it. Maybe I'll put it on if I can save it, or can you send it to me? Or I don't know if you can.
It's 55 minutes long. It's gonna be like an hour. So I'll go through and I normally chop up clips to replay. So I'll send you the clips that are like a minute and break them down.
Put it on YouTube. I'll just share it after that. How about that? Make it easy.
Do you want to leave any wonderful words?
Yes, I just want to tell people to partner with intention. Find someone that you want that connects with your soul and who you are internally. And yes, if race is super important to you, that's fine. You don't have to be ashamed about that, but just make sure that you're aligning yourself and procreating with someone that truly aligns with who you are internally, and what your values are internally, because that's going to be the thing that makes your marriage last, your relationship last, is if you are picking someone who you want to share your life with and who shares the same goals that you do. They can't just be based off how you look. Whether you're the same race or not, or you have a preference, you need to look beyond your physical preference, because that mental preference that's what's going to keep it going. Yes, I agree. Somebody said, what's the YouTube channel? It's Black Mom's Blog. And on top of that, we really are about to get off because I do got things to do. But I think you are so busy. You know, girl, I'll be moving. I got stuff to do. But I realized that Instagram lifted this hour-long ban, because I think I got on at 2:01 or 2:02, and it's 3:04, and we're still going. So I realized that with Erykah Badu and Jill Scott, I just thought they got that because they were special, that they were able to go on for 3 hours. But I'm seeing that the lives are able to last longer. But Ashley, thank you so much for joining. Y'all, if you missed it, go back and tune in, okay? Oh, yes. And look out, me and my husband have our own podcast coming. It's called Take What You Need. So I'm excited. I'll definitely when it's live, but we'll be talking about all of these things as well. So look out for that. Thank you, sis. Thank you for joining us. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye. Y'all, I love her. I really don't think you understand how much I love her. She's so amazing. And Ashley is so honest and so real about the things that she says. It's just, that was such a refreshing conversation on a much needed topic. So like I said, if you missed this live, it'll be up for 24 hours. I'm about to do it right now. And it will also be up on our YouTube channel, which is Black Mom's Blog on YouTube. Just type it in and it'll be right there. I'll see y'all next Tuesday. Bye.